Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you again. Okay, today I'm going to talk about the recent uh, words or texts I put out there about the Chinese characters or features comparing to the Western people, or if you prefer, ladies and gentlemen as a group. Let's say in Titanic, when the ship is going to sink, how the group, the majority Western people acted. That's called collective behavior. All right. In this one, it's the same. What I meant by Chinese is as a group. All right. Not any individual person. I think that's pretty clear to a lot of people, but I don't know why some people interpret it in some other ways. All right. And I put it here in the C Radar, in the forum, and also in the QQ and other places in China. And some people, well, I would say most people didn't say anything. And some people told me I was shaming the Chinese. 反华. All right, okay. And some criticism including those words like if you are Chinese, you are stupid. If you are not, you are shaming us. Well, I will say, and your leader, great leader Chairman Mao once said, criticism and self-criticism is absolutely necessary, right? Okay. If I'm a Chinese, you can say I'm doing self-criticism. If I'm not Chinese, you will say, okay, I criticize Chinese. But anyway, it's for good purpose, right? And also in Chinese, there's a proverb called, if you know your faults or your problems, you will behave better. You will change to better in future, correct? And you are encouraged to that. 支持近乎勇. That's the meaning, right? Okay. Okay, let me explain sort of one by one, but to some items I probably will say less because it's pretty obvious. If I say more, I probably put more emphasis on that. So let's go by the list. See if it's convincing to you and you believe that as a group or collectively you think that's a problem too. All right. Okay, let's come to this. First I say the Chinese need sincerity in their doing. So, do you think so? How about the word 混, fooling around in English, right? How many people say I'm not serious about my job, my life, or whatever I'm doing? I'm a 混. I'm a fooling around. That's the way to say you are not serious. That's number one. All right, number two. Chinese does not have a sacred belief or holy spiritual belief, conviction. Is that so? Well, Chinese doesn't have a religion. When I say religion, it's not like a Confucius or Mencius or Lao Tzu. No, it's nothing like that. That's not. They are human beings, right? They are saints. Saints are human beings. So, they are not God. What I mean is, if you have a religion, you treat the head of the religion as a God, all right? He is not among you. He is above all of us. That's called God. That's a religion. You need a ceremony. You need to say things that you normally don't say about the life and your problems. That kind of thing, right? There's a ceremony. If you go, you're a Christian or even you're even Muslim, maybe, or Hinduism, you will know that's a religion. But the Chinese, Mencius, Confucius, Lao Tzu, Taoism, they are not a religion at all in any sense. All right, so they don't have a sacred belief or concept as worshiping or something. No, they don't have that. All right, the third one, I would say the Chinese don't have a strong sense of morality. Am I correct or not? Tell me. You know, a lot of people say Chinese culture teaches you to be moral for thousands of years. Why do you still say that the Chinese culture does not have a strong sense of morality? Well, basically, the morality is sort of like a nonsense or rubbish, or it just teach you how to obey to others. Let's say, teach women to obey husbands, teach people to obey officials, obey to the emperor, that kind of a thing. That's actually not the morality. It's a sort of like order or discipline or command, whatever you want to. It's not morality, right? And we know many things happening in China. There's no moral at all, right? And you can see that. And that's too obvious. You have poison everything. Poison food, poison water, poison ground, poison everything almost. Poison the children's mind, the vaccination. Too many to mention. So you probably won't argue with me on this point. All right, let's go to the next. Chinese are selfish, and they will rob the public for their own purpose. Well, think about that. How many corrupt officials China has? Tons of them, right? And much more than in the whole world combined, I'll say, because it's probably a bigger population base. But it's much, much more. If you say because we have more people, well, think about in your Chairman Mao's time. Do you have so many corrupt officials? No, you don't. Actually, everybody, or almost everybody, wants to be corrupt. And if they are given the chance, correct? And how many people want to jump to the ship of being a public servant, so-called? Why? Because they are better treated, right? They can rob the public, they have the chance. If you don't jump on the board, you are not a party member or you're not a public servant, you don't have the chance to get millions without any effort. Just play tricks among people or use your body if you are female, right? And that's corrupt. That's called robbing the public. All right. Okay, number 5. Chinese only knows material interest. That's correct. If you don't have spiritual things to do, and what else do you do? What do you work for? What do you live for? Right? And there's a Chinese proverb. Just like birds to die for food, we die for interest, for money, right? It's the same thing, right? Okay, so you know what I mean. All right, next one, number 6. Chinese are short of a spiritual pursuit. I think by this time you probably are convinced that Chinese don't have it. If they have material pursuit as the only goal in their mind, how can they have anything other than that? Right? It's pretty obvious. All right. Number 7. Chinese are worshiping the different gender or worshiping sex. And I have a special talk about this topic. If you look inside my playlist, there's one, Sex in Chinese Culture. You can read that one. And that's why you can think about this way. Any corrupt official, there's millions of them in China, and very obvious common act they want to do is have their women, right? As many as hundreds, a few hundreds, to some extent. Why do they do that? Because they are thinking each woman is different, and they want to try each, and like they taste the Chinese dish, right? And if you taste different dish, you feel differently, right? They believe so for women. That's their happiness. All hidden there, all right? That's their belief. Okay. So this is very peculiar to the Westerner, and the Chinese are sort of worshipping blood. All right, so that's their sort of thinking. That's why they do that, and it's ridiculous to the Western people, but they do. All right, okay, next one. And the Chinese are not solid, and they like to boast, to bluff. That's pretty much sure, right? And even your chairman, Xi Jinping, says we'll deal with Trump tooth by tooth. What's the result? All right, that's called bluffing. All right, that's make you look bad in other people's eye, right? Okay, that's not good. All right, next one. Chinese are short of creativity. Well, look around among yourself. Which part is invented by Chinese? Internet, cell phone, TV, washing machine, microwave oven, heater? No, nothing, right? You can say we have so-called 4 discoveries in the past. That's very technical and also not recognized by the world either. Let's say the printing thing. That's probably there's a somebody called Gutenberg in Germany to be recognized among the world. They are he is the inventor. The problem is not here. The problem is what's the thinking, what's mentality. The Chinese are not good for that. Not only good, I would say the Chinese are forbidden to do that. They don't feel that's something worth doing. That's a problem. All right. You don't have the culture to be inventive, to be creative. That's a problem. If you accidentally step on something, that doesn't considered in any way as an invention in modern sense. Okay. All right, number 10. And Chinese like to get public attention, to have fancy public homage or worship, right? And you can feel that, and in the group, in the internet, a lot of people are doing that for the purpose of only self-showing, the showing off or display of self, ego, right? And that's pretty obvious. I believe that the Chinese are more like that. All right, I'll tell you why later. All right, let's go on. All right, next one, number 11. Chinese don't know the privacy concept. That's pretty clear, right? And almost all government can do anything to you, and you can do anything to everybody else. Let's say you ask people how much you make, and how old are you, or where are you from, and things like that. You don't have the concept between you open your mouth. What's the privacy here? Did I offend anybody in this sense? No, you don't have the idea. You don't have the concept of privacy. All right, that's a pretty common knowledge. It's common sense, actually, in the Western world. But Chinese don't have that one. All right, number 12. Chinese doesn't respect individual rights. That's pretty clear also. And Chinese as a group, they have or rather, they are they are taught to respect the public. I mean the group interest. Actually, as the countries or whatever the government says, you as an individual is worth nothing. But everything you have is given by the party or by the government or by your country, whatever you think. So you are worth nothing. You are not deserving to be treated well. That's the concept. Okay, that's a basic difference between the Western people and Chinese people. One is individual rights based. The other is a collective image based. Actually, that's just a sort of a deceiving thing or cheating on you, but you don't know that, and you just forcefully believe that your rights or whatever you have can be protected in the group. No, that's not true. All right, and then number 13, and Chinese doesn't obey laws or doesn't follow public policies and doesn't have the concept of to be a lawful citizen. That's true too. And the recent a lot of examples showing that if you're a journalist, if you're just a housewife, and you go abroad and you make some noise in the airplane, you complain in the hotel, you shout, you struggle, a lot of other things, right? All right, okay, let me stop here and I'll continue next time. Thank you. Okay, let's keep going. Now we come to which one? Chinese does not. Number 12. Chinese does not respect individual rights, correct? So you can see that very clearly. And in China, if the government wants you to move out from your place, they just tell you to go because they want to sell the lot to the business person to make money or for whatever purpose they told you. If you don't obey and if you insist the compensation is not good enough, they don't care. They just force you out and destroy your home, most likely, right? That's the case. But make a difference here. In respecting individual rights is different from respecting life. These are two different things. I'll talk about disregard of life for the Chinese later. All right? Okay, and the next one, I'll say the Chinese number 13. Chinese does not follow laws, not law abiding. You can see very clearly in China, laws are only made for the masses or for the group, not for anything above certain order or certain level of bureaucracy. That's inheritance from the ancient times, right? And even in Chinese, among the masses, they have the concept, if you are good, you are better than others or something like that. You can break the law. You don't care about what the public say. You don't need to follow common standard or habit or custom. Because in China, there's a saying that's 刑不上大夫, right? then that's basically the spirit, if you want. As the emperor, they can do anything they want. Basically lawless. Whatever they say is law. So laws are only for those who are under. So if you think you are above others, let's say you are a businessman, you have a factory and you make rules, but you don't yourself necessarily follow. That's basically in China everywhere the same. For many things, either in business, in government, in policy making, in school, everywhere, even in traffic, right? If you have rights, you don't care about the signal, and you just go anywhere you want. If there's anything accident happened, you can blame the other party or person, right? You can do that, no problem. All right, okay, let's go to the next one. Chinese fear authorities, of course. What else? They show force, and you have to obey by the physical law. Otherwise, they destroy you. They kill you, right? And you have no other way to escape from it. So you fear authority since you were born. You were educated. You were treated like that by force, mostly, or as a last resort. You have to obey. That's the case. All right. Okay, and number 15, Chinese worship ancients. Of course, there's a lot of saints. Confucius, Mencius, Lao Tzu, or anything old, they respect. Right? And that is the case for the Chinese. They think the older people, or even seniors, ancient saints, are better than today's people in whatever field. That's their belief. And whatever you thought about, and the saints already had it before. So that's basically thinking. So they worship their saints and worship their ancestors. Not long ago, they're doing that. They were doing that. But recently, they don't have a sort of like labels, or I'll say like, how can I say this? This is not a Western, not an English term, so it's hard to describe. So to put up something for worshipping purposes, like a ceremony in each family, they don't have that part anymore. But they still, in their bones, in their heart of hearts, they still believe the older are wiser. The ancients are wiser. That's their fundamental belief. All right, now let's go to the next one. Chinese are fooling around with their life. You believe so, I think? And that's commonly used words, as I mentioned earlier, 混, right? They are fooling around. Everything is just to make a living. They are not serious about anything, like children. Just playing. That's their belief. And they also regard that kind of attitude as very honorable. Something very enjoyable. They like that way. So you can believe that they are not treating things seriously. Even when they grow up as adults, they still have that mentality as they were little. All right, and let's come to the next one. Number 17, Chinese are short of beliefs. Well, actually, they are not here by belief. I mean something holy, something godlike, or religion. They don't have that kind of belief. So normally we say they don't have they are atheist. Or, well, I would say they believe in materials. They don't have anything spiritual. You can believe that way. Mostly, most people won't have any belief. Not only because of the doctrination by the communists, by the government. It's not that only. They really don't have a belief for a while. All right, and next one. Number 18. Chinese don't have a concept of just. Well, actually, they only know by just. No, they don't have the Western concept of being just or treating people fairly. They don't have that concept. They believe sort of like if you are better than other people, you can bully other people. That's also a way of showing you are better. And of course, the bullied party won't like it. But what else can you do? You are worse than the bully. That's why you suffer. That's their mentality. And also a lot of admirers, onlookers here. They worship you if you bully other people, if you are bullied. That's a part. Like they treat their government. It's the same thing. You know, that is what it is in reality. You believe or not. They just do things that way. They don't like freedom, number 19. Well, that's a fact. And if they can be fed well and can live well materially, they don't care about anything else. They have nothing to do, or rather, very contrary to what Americans believe. The freedom is number one. No, they don't like that. They don't think they need that, actually. So that's a different mentality. You may say that's culturally different. And that's the truth. All right, and number 20. Chinese don't have any religion or religious studies, for that matter. That's pretty true. It's a fact. So no need to elaborate. And next one. '21. Chinese don't have any invention or created anything modern. As before I said, that's a fact. Look around among yourself. Anything recently developed? Except a few major things, four things they claim to their credit, but actually they're not worldwide recognized. You can see that, very obvious. All right, the next one, Chinese are very conservative to the extent that they really outdated. You may say being conservative is a good word, but here conservative means to be old-fashioned, very, very old-fashioned, and outdated actually, archaic. And in that sense, they don't like change. They don't like that. They don't like invention, new things. In their mentality, they just like things will stay the same. As a matter of fact, they think changing is going like a circle, going around and round. That kind of movement, that's their belief. It's in their culture, so no problem. That's a very sure thing. All right. Okay, next one, they're politically backward in their system. That's a fact too. And as Western people commented, they have the political system as a stone-aged structure, no change, for 5,000 years, right? And there still government decides everything for the people, for the masses. And basically the masses have to be represented, sort of, by somebody else. They cannot say things they like. Although in the Constitution you have the freedom, but that's only in word. And actually you don't. You don't have freedom of speech, you don't have freedom of association, you don't have the freedom of publication. So a lot of things you don't have. Even it's stated clearly in the Constitution. It's just they play double words here, and nobody said anything. But if you do, they probably get your head cut. You lose your life, so you fear. You don't want to risk your life, right? That's the truth. So, and now it come to next one, number 24. So spiritually they are very weak or very low spirited. And they don't have any pursuit spiritual wise. And because they only know material things. That's a fact. Alright, and then now we come to the 125. Chinese don't have rationale. Well, actually, I cannot use this word in any Western sense. When we say rationale, normally we interpret it in the Western sense. In China, when say reason or rules, they call it the rationale, but which is quite different in content from the Western one. If you notice that, if you know about their culture, you will feel that way. So they have different definition for the concept of rationale. All right. Okay. What's the next? Okay. 26. Chinese depend on their intuition to handle things. That's a pretty clear. If you don't have rationale, what do? You depend on your intuition, your feeling, your whimsical thinking, right? Your fancy, in other words, to do whatever you need to. Just instinct. Or by your nature, you may say. You don't have anything stable. You just feel you like to do it. And that's all depend on your intuition, on your instinct. That's a little bit like a child mentality. Or maybe some women have that in common, right? They don't depend on their rationale like the ancient Greeks think. The philosophers like Aristotle think only men can do philosophy because they have a rationale, and the women and the children cannot. That's based on this principle. You cannot do things, you cannot reason according to the intuition or instinct. You cannot have that kind of mentality. That's a fact. All right, and the next one we come to Chinese don't pursue truth. Well, if you don't know it, how can you pursue it? You don't have the concept of truth. What is truth? They don't have this concept. They just quote Lao Tzu saying that Tao you can roughly interpret as rules or laws, whatever, universe, societies, everything. But what it is, any serious studies on Tao? No, nobody. Everybody just gave lip service and do a superficial interpretation. That's it. No systematic explanation what it is, and no development of it, and no serious studies on them, individually or by group or by the government. No, nobody. So that is clear and down the history for 1,000 years. It's always like that. So by saying Tao, it doesn't mean much, really. So how can they pursue anything like a truth, right? That's pretty obvious. Okay, number 8. Chinese don't have science. Of course, that's a Western idea. They have technology and they have skills, but they don't have scientists. The concept of science actually came only after the 1900, the beginning or the middle of 1900. And the Chinese got the concept from the Westerners, the concept of science. In their history of 5,000 years, there's no this concept called science. All right, and what else? It looks like pretty tedious, huh? All right, we'll stop here today, and I believe that we'll do it next time if you feel any interest in it and any response for it. All right, I hope that all problems, let me make a summary of this. You can see because Chinese don't have religion. If you don't respect God, if you don't have a religion, you probably have a lot of trouble. Comparing to the Western people, comparing to the Western culture. Because that's a natural growth you don't have. You sort of twisted your society, your concept, your recognition, your cognition in some aspect. So you sort of mentally developed poorly. So that is probably the problem Chinese need to correct or to learn in future. And believe it or not, if you like you people believe in religion, worship God, 99% of problems China have can be overcome, I believe. All right. Hopefully it's useful for you and to better your understanding of what I mean. All right, good luck. Any questions? Let me know and put it down. We can talk about it later, all right? Okay, thank you.